It's time once again to take on the role of Talion, a ranger half puppeted by a wraith named Celebrimbor. As we learned at the end of Shadow of Mordor, Celebrimbor happens to be the guy who forged the original Rings of Power. So of course, he and Talion thought it'd be a good idea to forge another one in an attempt to defeat Sauron, which is where Shadow of War picks up. Now, if you didn't play through Shadow of Mordor, don't worry. War starts you off with just enough of a flashback to get a solid grasp of what's going on. Ultimately, Talion and Celebrimbor are still trying to get back at Sauron, but this time, their revenge reaches a whole nother level. So let's jump into our 5 tips for Shadow of War. Tip number 1, master the basics. This seems like a duh type of tip, but we want to emphasize it because this game throws you right into the thick of things. Take time to get familiar with the map and the markers. Take a good look at the legend. Get to know the other menus while you're at it, and don't mash through the tooltips. The sooner you understand what everything means, the better you'll be able to navigate the more important pieces of gameplay. Which brings us to tip number 2, the Nemesis system. Shadow of Mordor's award-winning Nemesis system was the first of its kind. It let you create unique relationships with even more unique enemies. In Shadow of War, the Nemesis system is back, new, and improved. Which also means you might need some help keeping track of all the constant shifting statuses between you and those orc punks. Thankfully, the map takes care of the mental footwork for you. They not only allow you to track the usual things like special item locations, but they also help you track your orcs, enemy orcs, conflicts between orcs, as well as your missions. Keep an eye out for time-expiring quests as a quick way to interfere with the orcs' self-destructive climb to the top and net some great loot along the way. Speaking of orcs, tip number 3, know your orcs. When I said your orcs, I meant it. In the second act, you'll gain the ability to bend orcs to your will. So rather than simply staring into the souls of worms to divulge valuable intel on others, you'll now get to dominate commanders, recruiting them to fight for you, meaning you'll also get to build your own orc army. The sooner you get familiar with the orcs, the sooner you can decide who you want to recruit. Consume is a useful skill to have when it comes to recruiting, and be sure you have plenty of wealth gems because they'll be useful when leveling up your team. Once you control a region, fighting pits will be another good place to level up your orcs. But the loser typically dies, so keep that in mind. This tip also stands for knowing the different categories of orcs. This will be important for defeating them, as well as how you use your recruited orcs. Plus, once you control a region, you can appoint an overlord, and the tribe of the overlord orc will determine the perk of that region. Quick tip, if you send a worm to make a death threat on a captain right before you attempt to recruit him, it'll level up that captain by 5. Tip number 4, pre-planned skills. There are some pretty cool skills hiding at the end of the skill tree and in the little bulbs attached to each of the main skills, so do a little research before you start buying them up because it'll save you a headache later in the game. As for gaining skill points themselves, you can pick up some easy ones by purifying all the Hadir towers in each region. There should be 3 of them. Then, when you reveal the locations of the symbols, memories, and artifacts, take time to pick them up because they'll get you skill points as well. There are skill points for challenges too. Tip number 5, new loots. Another exciting addition to this game is the new loot system. Not only can you now collect awesome gear, you can unlock gem slots for each gear type as well, which you'll actually want to do ASAP. Placing gems in your gear can increase your health, damage, or chance of collecting money, aka Miriam. And don't forget to upgrade your gems, which you can do in the menu as well. You can dismantle unused loot for more Miriam, but remember, not all that glitters is gold, or purple. Just because you found a shiny new legendary doesn't mean you should scrap that rare item. Those rares can have great bonuses, like a chance to set opponents on fire or poison them. So make sure you take a moment to weigh the pros and cons before destroying it. All in all, Shadow of War is a solid game. They took what worked well in Shadow of Mordor and improved it in almost every way. The mechanics are similar but just feel better. And the new additions bring this game to a whole new level. So go recruit those orcs and build an army to conquer Mordor. Or you could crush their skulls. Or you could just fly a drake around and burn everything to the ground.